This is Business Therapy, where we help businesses heal from the inside out, revealing the human side of business. I'm your host, Diane Hansen, and I am joined by my co-host, Christine Salvo, therapist, mediator, and hypnotist.
Awesome. Happy to be here.
So this episode, I was really inspired with the new year and how everybody is out making resolutions, plans, how 2020 is just going to be the year for fill in the blank here.
The new decade.
Exactly. So I was reading through Forbes and it just hit me in the face that with all these plans and all of these ideas and all of these new things, that what happens with a lot of New Year's resolutions is people burn out on them. Like I'm going to go. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then boom. And it got me thinking about business burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the probably some of the more detrimental forms of burnout because it's connected with your money. It's connected with your family relationships.
Quality of life.
Exactly. Everything. So I wanted to kick off business therapy talking about burnout because, and I love how you put this, Christine, that you can split it up. Burnout. Split that up.
Yeah. So just take the word. Burn, fire, enthusiasm, passion, spirit, all the things that fire would represent. And then out, like nothing really good comes from out, So,
yeah, like throwing your back out. Not so great.
Fire is full of power. Like I think of fire and I think like beauty, power. I mean, it's all of these wonderful things. But when we burn out, it's in the title.
Yeah.
The spark behind our eyes kind of starts to diminish, and maybe we get a little more fatigued, more grumpy, more irritable. Our quality of life, our happiness just starts to go out, and all that spark, all that enthusiasm, all that goal-oriented juiciness kind of starts to.
Oh, exactly. And it not only goes around, but everything else does with it because energy kind of perpetuates energy,
Yep.
Perpetual emotion. It's the same thing in life. So if you're going and you're moving forward momentum, that's great. But when you start to burn out, it's like walking through mud.
Oh, yeah.
You're walking through mud, and when it translates into the work environment, or if you're a business owner, the passion that you have for your business, it just starts to be mud.
And especially like you said, so the holidays, there's such a great time for new energy, right? Especially it's 2020, it's a new decade. That means a lot. We've put so much meaning behind 2020 and the last 10 years is over and all this stuff. But I want you to think about the holidays and holiday stress. I don't know about you, but it took a toll. Everyone I've talked to, it's like the holidays. So we end the holidays and we're supposed to have this kind of second wind of brand new enthusiasm that we're going to maintain for the next 10 years. So not only are we looking at a New Year's resolution, we're looking at the best decade ever and all the new stuff, the new,
That's
the 10 years.
That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure.
So if you're already burnt out, if you're already exhausted and fatigued and just kind of like at your end from the holidays and you're kind of looking at this new year like, where is this supposed to come from? Like, where am I supposed to get this?
Exactly.
10-year goals. Here we go.
Exactly. And in the work environment in particular, you've got new goals and you have new targets to meet.
Fiscal,
some executive had a brainiac idea and rewrote all the job descriptions and look, here's your new job description. New. At some point, new becomes ooh.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So in terms of burnout, there are just several ways where job stressors can be, kind of alleviated just a little bit. And the first place there is in workload. and, how much are you doing? What is that load? And that word, even workload.
Right.
Load.
It's a loaded word.
It's a loaded word. Absolutely. So like, do you have enough time to do what's actually important in your job? Do you have enough time to do, what matters to make a difference in doing what you're doing? And tie that in with, does that fulfill you? So if you don't have enough time to do what you need to do and your boss is breathing down your neck and you start to feel like, oh, this might not be my path.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of different things that lead to burnout.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, I like to kind of take it all the way to the start. So let's say I get a job. I interviewed and I get the job, and maybe it's a $5,000 a year or more raise.
Woohoo!
I'm not usually starting burnout.
No,
right?
no, I'm on fire.
I'm starting from this different place of like, yes, I got the job. Like, I feel so proud of myself, and maybe I have a lot of enthusiasm, and maybe I'm the person that comes on the job that everyone kind of gags at. Like, oh, you're new.
You're new. Aren't you cute?
I can tell because look at all your energy, enthusiasm. Mm-hmm. Don't worry, we'll kill that soon. And really kind of what tends to happen, at least in my experience and people that I've worked with, is expectation doesn't meet reality. So in our minds, we're like, this is going to be great. I'm going to be awesome at it. I'm going to grow and I'm going to have all these new responsibilities. And then reality is like, hey, you're getting coffee for us and you're answering the phones. And it's like, no, I was hired to do this great position. But reality is sometimes we're plugged into positions that we weren't necessarily even hired for.
Oh, absolutely. And no place has that come out more than self-employment.
Right. Absolutely.
Honestly, the things that when you're self-employed, the things that you hire yourself to do, it's like, wait a second. Did I really hire myself to be a salesperson? Well, I guess I did if I want to feed myself.
Right.
But does it feed you? Does it feed you and what you're doing and all of that? And you just start adding more and more of that fire dampener, and all of a sudden the flame just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So whereas the workload, I don't like that word. Let's change that. Our work lightning needs to light our fire. And if it doesn't, the load dampens that fire and it goes out. So, whether you're working for somebody and have this brand new job and maybe expectations aren't necessarily meeting reality, I think one of the keys to avoiding that burnout is to communicate where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. But also understanding that we have aspects to our work-life happiness. Right? We want to feel like we have some control. We want to feel like we have the ability to move up. We want to feel like we have the ability to progress. And so often, when we're presenting this to our listeners, if you're feeling burnout, you'll usually know pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Your desire to go to work starts to diminish. You're feeling like you're bored. You're not stimulated. You're not challenged. You don't feel like your skills are being utilized correctly. And those are direct hits to our self-esteem, to our identity, to, what we feel like we could accomplish versus what we really feel that we are, our contribution. Those are some vital things that lead to job burnout.
Absolutely. And control and autonomy is one thing that I see mentioned across multiple media as the biggest thing that people need to understand when it comes to burnout is that there's one thing you can control, and that's you. Yeah. Everything else outside is a bit uncontrollable. But if you have the influence in the decisions about what affects your work and how you do your work and your contribution to your work, that's a fire starter. When you start to lose that autonomy and you start to feel out of control, or you feel like possibly there's been so much piled on you that you can't get your head above water, I think that's when you enter the danger zone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then there's a real lack of reward to that. And, we have messages coming in right now from listeners on the show, and they agree, as you hear the dinging in the background, they agree that it's all about what you feel you have the control over, and also reward.
Absolutely.
Reward. You got to feel like it's worth it. And reward, there's two types of reward. Extrinsic comes from the outside, and intrinsic reward. And so when someone's saying, good job, you're great, or you see the benefit of what you're doing, that's that extrinsic reward. And that intrinsic reward, that's when it really makes sense to drill down to your why.
Absolutely. And, you know, I love the concept of why. I'm really kind of thinking of, there's so many different types of work. You know, sometimes people are really working just to pay the bills. It's not their passion. It's not their life's work. It's not. And the why may really just be, I need to make money. Like, I just need to survive. And that's a great why. You know, there's nothing wrong with that why. And like you're saying, what we have control over in those elements, in that aspect, is our attitude.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, you know, I love this saying, if I'm going to be the janitor, I'm going to be world's happiest and best janitor, because it's my responsibility to take pride in what I do. It's not other people's responsibility to approve or acknowledge. It's lovely when they do. It's lovely when you get noticed. And at the same time, I'm only responsible for me and what I bring.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes we have to give ourselves our own rewards, our own gold stars, so to speak. So when we give ourselves that gold star, that's a part of celebrating and really focusing on what worked versus what didn't work in that day. You know, looking at and it's a gratitude practice. Dr. Robert Emmons wrote a book called Thanks, and he looked into the real science of gratitude. And this real science of gratitude demonstrated that those that showed gratitude, those who celebrated, those who looked for their own reward actually ended up getting more reward.
Absolutely. So I want to share something with you. So I've had a practice with my kids since, I'm thinking my daughter was maybe in second grade and my son was in kindergarten. And every morning on our way to school, every morning, and my kids are now in high school and middle school, we say our 5 thankful gratefuls. So we all take a turn, and we did it this morning on my way to taking the kids to school. And it doesn't matter what kind of mood we're in. It doesn't matter if we're happy, sad, if we have challenges or not. We sit in the car and we go, okay, take your turn. And we say 5 things we're thankful and grateful for. Mine are typically the same with a few added extras. Because what I'm grateful for typically is the same with a few added extras. Then we end, it's my personal thing. You know, other people don't have to do that, but we kind of say in unison. I say 1, 2, 3, and we say, I am so blessed and thank you. So no matter what our challenges are, no matter what life's throwing at us, it's, gosh, you know, I am so grateful that my basic needs are met. I'm so grateful that we get to say our thankful gratefuls in the morning on the way to school. I'm so grateful for the A, B, and C that's going to be happening that day, for all the opportunities that we have to make the day great.
And I love that you do that with your children, because in some way you're building a community of gratefulness and developing a pattern of that. So that's going to carry over into their lives and how they run their adult lives.
And I know you do something. I know.
I do. I'll absolutely post resources if need be. But yes, I do have a public Facebook gratitude group, What Worked Today. So yeah, absolutely. That supportive group is so important. And what happens when people don't have that supportive group, and this is part of my critical opportunity theory, what happens when people do not have that supportive group is they look for people to co-sign their bad behavior. They look for people to co-sign, oh, we don't like that person. Oh, we don't like that boss. Oh, let's build a tribe. Let's build a tribe and let's all agree that this policy is terrible and let's go after it. they do what I call joining forces with hate. And people do it. I mean, this isn't just work environments. If anyone, you ever had a really bad breakup, what do? You get your girlfriends together and we all badmouth the boyfriend. We all know we do it. And it's because there's camaraderie in community.
Absolutely.
So when you have that positive community, you can actually battle burnout by having that reinforcement of, okay, we know that we have a lot of projects that are coming at us right now. Let's band together and figure out how to positively get this done. Let's figure out how to encourage each other. Let's figure out how to support each other. And what that can do culturally for an organization is it can fend off those factions.
Absolutely.
And once you break up those factions, it becomes then kind of uncool to be part of the naysayer faction.
Right.
And because everyone is now going in this new cultural direction of positive community.
Well, and like you're saying, you feel better.
Yeah, you just feel better.
When you're around, we call it like water cooler talk, right?
Yeah.
And when you're around the water cooler and it's like, oh my gosh, did you hear? I don't think anybody feels better after that.
No.
I'm constantly encouraging people, like, have a safe person to talk to. Have a therapist, have a best friend, have your spouse, partner, friend, or whoever. But let's not do that at work. You're not going to make yourself look good, number one. I don't think people that sit around the water cooler tend to shine. If there's a rumor, if something goes around, you kind of like sift out like, well, I think I probably know who said that.
Yeah.
You feel like you might be kind of dumping the cup or eliminating some stress in the moment. But ultimately, I don't know about you or what your experiences are, but when I was younger, I had those work environments and I participated not knowing better. And I'd usually feel ucky and yucky and almost like scared. Like, uh-oh, did I say too much?
Did I just say something that's going to get me fired?
Yes,
oh, no.
absolutely. Did I just say, because it's such a thin line, but it's so negative, it doesn't create a good culture. Nobody's really happy in that. And in fact, it's almost like the one-up game on who could be more miserable and quit first.
Right. And that's exactly what it brings about. And it perpetuates burnout because you lose energy.
Yeah.
You lose energy.
And enthusiasm.
Words have a lot of power.
Absolutely.
And positive words have the effect of bringing up energy. Like they say, if you're on the phone, smile. And, the people on the other end of the line will know that you're smiling and you sound happier. Regardless of whether you're happy or not, smile.
Smile.
But it's true. Positive actions and positive words give energy. Negative actions and negative words and this joining forces with hate mentality drains energy.
Yeah.
And it is a creator of burnout.
I will say it just doesn't work.
It absolutely
It's the opposite of what works.
Doesn't work. And, another people, speaking of what doesn't work, is they get burned out when they feel that they're being treated unfairly.
Absolutely.
When opportunities are decided on merit, and they feel that there is a balanced maybe process or structure behind how people get promoted, how people get raises, how people get recognized. Having a process around that is actually really important. And it doesn't matter if it's in a family unit or a business unit. Playing favorites is always a kind of a stoker of the bad fire.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And values in that, playing favorites is a value that it's like a poison. It's like injecting a poison into an organization. But if an organization, and sometimes organizations do that just because they don't know any better.
Right.
They really just don't know. Or it's a family organization and they're just used to it being in the family. And so they run the organization like they run their family. And that's all well and good until the organization's like 100, 200 people.
Right.
And then we can't run it like that anymore. It's got to have some core values. It has to have some culture. It has to have some things to build people up.
Right.
And my real personal opinion is that businesses and organizations of all types are just very large dysfunctional families.
Which I love. That's great. Yeah.
And the thing is that we all have our quirks and we all have our imbalances and weirdness. But when it comes down to it, you can, whether in a family unit or a business unit, you can keep people away from burnout by being clear on the values and then having people know what they're signing up for to begin with.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those are all elements. And then, if you're already in it, burnout can happen at any time too. So you may love your job for 5 years, and 5 years and 1 month, you're like, ooh.
And that's a really great segue, because burnout is a sign of something.
Absolutely. It's a sign of many things.
It's a sign of many things. Mm-hmm. And it has a lot of different manifestations as well. Physical aspects of burnout. You have headaches. You get sick a lot. You're tired. Your stomach is messed up. Mm-hmm. You can't sleep. Your chest hurts. It's just physically.
It can mimic depression and anxiety. Yeah. And if not taken care of, it can lead to depression and anxiety.
Absolutely. There's a lot of psychological aspects, panic attacks, anger, frustration, hopelessness, all of that. And that impacts the company bottom line, because your employees are less productive. They're absent. They just kind of like go through the day like, there's no big rush to anything. Mm-hmm.
The sense of urgency is gone.
Yeah, the sense of urgency is gone. And this happens again, whether you're an employee, you're running your own business, or you're sitting in your family, the sense of urgency is gone.
This can even be for stay-at-home parents.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. If that fire is gone, those physical, those psychological, and those behavioral things, they just pop up and they just feel so big, but they are a sign of something.
Yeah.
And I can tell you the last time I was really burned out, I probably didn't get out of bed until around noon. And even when I got out of bed, I really didn't know why I was getting out of bed, other than I had this on my calendar, that on my calendar, that on my calendar, and I had to do it. So I guess eventually I should go to the bathroom and feed myself. And this is the plight of the self-employed. But it's that fire behind doing, what you are. And where it boiled me down to was I was way off track.
Yeah.
I was way off track. I was working with clients that I kind of dreaded, because at the time I didn't want to be a writer, and I didn't want to do project work that was more tactical. And I was kind of growing out of that, but I was kind of stuck in it because I was a freelancer. But half the clients that came to me had no idea that they weren't even ready to communicate.
Right.
So what this caused is this huge pivot for my business. And once I was able to pivot, so I think another thing, that when the flame starts going out, you need some lighter fluid.
You do. And really talking about kind of like what to do when you're burned out, right? So one, take an inventory of what's in your control. And like we said earlier, your attitude is vital.
Absolutely.
But also your strategy. Be strategic. Let's have hobbies. Let's start exercising. Let's start learning something new. Let's take it out of the workplace, because the workplace can't be your only place that you're fulfilled.
Exactly.
So balance. Okay, maybe your job isn't what you want and you're super passionate about it, but you know what? It puts food on the table. It allows for you to be, housed and clothed, and maybe a little bit of fun sometimes. So we're grateful for that, just like you said earlier. Mm-hmm. And in addition, after work, now make that exciting. What do you want to do after work? How can you have some balance so that when you're going to work, you're like, you know what? It's 8 hours. I can get through this. I'm going to play some decent music. I'm going to take breaks. Maybe I meditate on my lunch or go for a walk. Maybe we start a fitness challenge at work. What can I do to increase my productivity, to stabilize my attitude? And ultimately, if I don't like this job, maybe it's time for me to look at something new.
Yeah. Maybe it's time to follow, was it Willie Nelson's advice? So, it's true. You have the control. And the insidious thing about burnout is it feels so out of control. So to utilize tools like deep breathing and meditation.
Absolutely.
Utilize tools that will bring you more into yourself
Even
and calm you.
15 minutes a day can change your neural pathways in your brain. If you get a 15-minute break or a 30-minute lunch, take half of that to reset your mind.
Yep. Another thing that causes burnout quickly in this day and age is our devices. Our devices, our cell phones, our iPads, our whatevers, is the more we scroll, the more we compare our insides to other people's outsides, the more we feel like we're not doing something right, the more we research, the more we obsess. Turn them off.
Yeah.
Turn off
Turn
the
them
devices.
off. Get some activity.
Absolutely.
Connect with the people that you really care about, whether that's phone or in person.
Yeah. Do something interesting. Shake it up a little bit. Shake it up a little bit. And you know what? Take a weekend.
Yes. Yeah.
Take a
Mental
weekend.
health days. Mental health days. Like you said, a lot of people are having this cut into their productivity, which is ultimately threatening their security for work, right? It's better to call in and take a day, to sleep all day or do whatever you need to do, than to not take care of yourself and have this be kind of like a slow death to your career or your employment with this company that maybe you really don't dislike, but that you're not taking care of yourself well enough to maintain and manage.
Yep. And what that space allows you to do is to focus on why it is you do what you do. And make sure you're really burnt out. If none of these strategies that we're talking about work for you, you could be dealing with something a little more serious.
And see professional help. See a therapist.
Absolutely.
Let somebody help you get through this. You are not alone. You do not have to do this alone.
Absolutely. And I want to close with this little bit that Harvard Business Review had to say about this and principles to remember about burnout. Definitely set boundaries around your use of digital devices during off hours. Incorporate regular breaks into your workday and focus why the work matters to you. If your professional obligations preclude a vacation, make sure you're wrapped up and it's not going to stress you out. Don't check your email when you're taking a vacation or a long weekend and recharging, or while you're meditating.
Right.
I've done that before. Spend all your downtime vegging or engaging in activities that just bring your energy down, bring your energy up. And don't mistake constant fatigue and apathy for a temporary case of burnout. Again, if you feel like you just hate your job, it's okay to hate your job. Just do the work and do the shift if you need to. Allow your burnout to be the pivot you need to light the fire under your life.
Absolutely.
And that's all we have for now. With that, I am Diane Hansen, management consultant, and
Christine Salvo, therapist, hypnotherapist, and mediator.
make it a great day. Good morning.
Good morning.